Thank you for staying with us. The African Union, that's the AU, has endorsed Nigeria as the digital trade champion for the continent under the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA, Digital Trade Protocol, due to the positive track record of the federal government in promoting digital enterprise and innovation. The 38th Ordinary Session of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government, which held in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, recognized Nigeria's proactive role in advancing the implementation of the Digital Trade Protocol adopted in February 2024. A statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, says the protocol features an agenda to develop 8 annexes covering critical areas, including rules of origin, digital identities, cross-border data transfers, legitimate and legal public interest reasons for disclosing source code, online safety and security, emerging and advanced technologies, and financial technology. Former President of Niger Republic and AU-AFCFTA, Mahamadou Issoufou, lauded Nigeria's leadership for convening the Digital Economy Roundtable in January. He noted that the gathering was pivotal in driving the digital trade agenda forward. Joining us via Zoom for this conversation is Global Affairs Analyst Collins Nweke. Collins, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Veronica, for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. Now, Nigeria has been named a champion, AFCFTA Digital Champion. I wonder, from your perspective, what this means for Nigeria, seeing that there are other African countries, some would say, that have been doing very well in the aspect of digitalizing their businesses and collaborating with other countries in Africa as well.
Well, obviously, this is fantastic news for Nigeria. And what Nigeria needs to do is identify what they have done well, what they have done right in this particular case, digital economy, and just continue to do more of it. And it is actually not a surprise that Nigeria, has been labeled the champion in Africa, because the figures speak for themselves. Now, some would look at the figure and say, okay, in 2019, when COVID-19 set in till about 2021, that the world saw some sort of explosion, in digital economy in terms of the transition that took place at the time. But Nigeria wasn't alone. Now, this was all down to, the policies that were put in place at the time, and, consistent, improvement in infrastructure investment. Now, we are talking of, in 2019, for instance, Nigeria was on about 5.09% in terms of, the contribution to GDP. And then by 2021, it had almost, doubled that figure to about 9 point, as a matter of fact, almost 10 billion. That is very much significant. And then think of also Moniepoint, a $1 billion worth company that actually, secured some 110 million in funding just last year, 2024. So all of these actually gingered the digital economy to the point that we are now. So it is not a surprise, and chapeau to Nigeria.
Mr. Nweke, well, looking at all of this, despite this digital advancement, Nigeria still faces some significant challenges, such as talk about inadequate infrastructure, cybersecurity threats, regulatory bottlenecks. For instance, in 2023, Nigeria ranked 109th out of 139 countries in the World Economic Forum's Network Readiness Index. And then in 2024, Nigeria ranked, that's the latest report, ranks 112 out of 133 in that year. So given these challenges, do you think the country is truly ready to lead Africa's digital trade agenda for the after?
Yes, they are. And that's the, simple, straightforward answer to that. I mean, as far as Africa is concerned, and yes, I agree with you. The figures, when viewed globally, could be abysmal, to say the least. Take, for example, globally, Nigeria ranks 75 out of 79 in what they call global connectivity index. But in Africa, they are #1. Now, what has actually led to this, and that was why I said at the initial stage that Nigeria simply needs to identify what they have done well, and then, just keep doing it. And one of those things that they have done well is the legislative framework. You will recall that just last year, I believe about this time last year, 2024, there was an act, Digital Economy Act, that was signed, a bill that was signed into law, actually providing the what I can call, the bedrock of the improvements that Nigeria has made. Now, let's not also forget, that our population, which in some quarters is considered a curse rather than a blessing, is part of what is driving this. Like Veronica mentioned, at the beginning of the bulletin, young people in Nigeria constitute, 70%. So, the population pyramid in things of this nature actually is a plus for Nigeria. We just have to, think of how best to manage them. So, more investment in infrastructure, and then the legislative framework, we should continue to sharpen them. These are the things that will continue to, place Nigeria in the leadership position in Africa, but also making it much more competitive, globally, because, within the global context, Nigeria is performing badly. But you see, what that means as well is that there are very huge growth opportunity for Nigeria because, globally, it is not yet competing. So that invites, investments from international players to come to Nigeria, bringing the technologies that are actually working in other parts of Africa, in other parts of the world, and then, make it even more.
All right, and that's where I want to pick my question from. Positioning ourselves in such a way that we attract foreign investment. At the end of the day, what we're looking for is foreign direct investment into the country to boost our GDP, our portfolio, and we can do any other thing that we want to do. And this will trickle down to other young persons seeking opportunities. How do we do that, knowing that there are opportunities, like you rightly mentioned?
Well, it was good you raised that point, Veronica, because let's, go back a little bit to just about 2 weeks ago when, Nigeria Export Promotion Council held a retreat. And there it was disclosed that in 2024, Nigeria grew its economy by over 20% from non-oil exports. So that is huge. And how this comes about is, people talk about, what I can call the shuttle diplomacy that Mr. President is undertaking most of the time in a negative sense. But you see, these things just don't happen on their own. They don't happen in isolation. We're beginning to see gradually some of the dividends of some of these trips that Mr. President, has made. But at the same time, some of these, trade missions that people lead from other parts of the world into Nigeria. For instance, the Nigeria-Belgium Luxembourg Chamber of Commerce, business forum, actually, consistently in the past 3 years has been leading trade delegations to Nigeria and working on areas, for instance, on digital literacy, bringing in people with the know-how, developing research and development, which Belgium is very well known for, and actually transferring them to Nigeria and creating opportunity for fintech companies in Europe, Belgium and Luxembourg specifically, to actually play a role in the Nigerian fintech space, developing them even further. So these are the sort of things that must be encouraged. And if I look at the strategic plan of Nigeria Export Promotion Council, you will see how much they are preparing to actually partner with the diaspora experts in digital economy to actually transfer some of these technologies and know-how to Nigeria. So those are the growth opportunity is huge, and the surface has only just been scratched.
Interesting. But then, now seeing the way we're going digitally, we see that the person championing, or apart from the president, the Minister of Digital Economy is also doing a whole lot because he's a young person. But as we complain about brain drain in the medical world, we also are worried about digital tourism or digital migration, where you see Nigerians who are tech savvy moving, seeking better opportunities in Germany, in US, mention all of these countries, developed economies. How do you think this would help in bringing them back to the country, and those that are still within the country would not be seeking an option to want out of the country, in terms of helping this country develop, not just digitally, but whatever they do will trickle down to the economy and make Nigeria's standing, very great?
I see the example you have just given from a positive perspective. Now, let us pause for a moment and consider that labor mobility in the last 5-10 years has actually gone up. That in the digital economy, to be more specific, people no longer need to leave their location. There are thousands of young Nigerians working for multinational corporations right from their bedrooms in Nigeria. Now, the few that actually have a need to physically migrate, you can also see that through connectivity, even Zoom that we're using to have this conversation, they are in the places where they are in diaspora, they are actually, contributing to the growth of the digital economy. So you see, when they migrate, those that have, the need to migrate physically, it just doesn't deter them from, transferring some of the skills and expertise that they have garnered, outside Nigeria in contributing to Nigeria's, digital economic growth. Now, the table needs to be better organized. We do have at present a NICOM, Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, that is meant to actually, strategize with the diaspora to be able to recycle some of these expertise that are deposited outside Nigeria by Nigerians, and with a bit more strategic thinking, strategic planning, coming out of NICOM, I believe that some of these would then be transferred to Nigeria in a very, very positive way. So, yeah, the future is really bright in this regard.
Interesting. Let's look at perhaps policy recommendations from your perspective now that would involve the diaspora playing strategic roles. Because at the end of the day, it's a relationship that should benefit both sides, whether we like it or not. So what would you recommend?
Well, for a start, I believe that it is important, like I have already alluded to leverage the diaspora digital skills transfer. Now, these are so very easy to organize these days and actually extremely cheap. Take, for instance, digital mentoring. Now, wherever in the world that you are, you can actually organize a mentoring, services for Nigeria's young tech-savvy individuals. From there, they begin to pick up skills that will actually enhance Nigeria's economy. And then you also look at, strengthening of trade and market linkages, whereby, diaspora digital trade missions are actually, encouraged. And I'm not talking of trade mission in general. I'm talking of specific, digital trade missions where the Nigerian diaspora and their associates, friends, in diaspora, Nigerians and non-Nigerians, come together, in Nigeria, working, for instance, with Lagos Chamber of Commerce or even NASIMA to, do trainings, to transfer technology and then also prepare people, for the research and development landscape. Now, just to leave it at, two specific examples. So there are more, but you see, we need to get started because those are areas that remain unexplored at this moment. But have we made a fantastic start? Absolutely. And like Ibrahim mentioned, we have, a minister for digital economy that knows his onion. The president has to be praised for actually making sure that the right peg is actually in the right hole in this specific instance. So we should, seize on the opportunity to grow.
Right. So as we are very optimistic, about the gains that we'll record from this, championing the cause of digital space and ecosystem, we should not lose sight of cybersecurity, which I want you to touch on. Because, for instance, Nigeria lost estimated $500 million to cybercrime in 2023. That's according to the Nigeria Communications Commission, vis-a-vis the fintech that you mentioned earlier. You mentioned MoneyPoint. I tell you, OPay is also doing well, PalmPay, and all of those, fintech that are being introduced to the country's financial ecosystem. But how do you think we can leverage this while building our cybersecurity system, for the ecosystem, the digital trade ecosystem rather, and ensure that there is safety of cross-border transactions under the African Continental Free Trade Agreement?
Well, that's an evolving sector, and of course, it remains a constant work in progress. In terms of cyber security, as you know, the rate of the dynamism in the evolution of cyber security, cyber crime is so very, very fast that I believe that vigilance is the key word there. I do not know the specific situation, in Nigeria as regards to the setting up of, a specific unit to monitor cyber crime and actually try to be one step ahead of, the perpetrators. But you see, that is actually no reason to step back. It is actually a reason to, step in even more. Again, there are a number of Nigerians that are into the, cyber security space out here in the diaspora, and through, missions that are specifically focused on cyber security, I believe that they can bring in their friends and their associates, to build capacity in Nigeria, but also, the Nigerian government needs to, do a lot more investments in, cyber security infrastructure. So, are you going to totally avoid, such fraud, for want of a better word to use? No. Everywhere in the world it is happening, but at least you can mitigate so that it doesn't go out of hand.
All right. The AFCFTA protocol on digital trade is looking to establish a conducive environment for young people to fully participate in Africa's digital economy. What would you term as a conducive environment? In Nigeria, for instance, they are looking to increase tariff on data, and some people are already raising concerns as a result. There's so much concerns about even electricity and every other thing needed to ensure that people have a conducive environment. So if we are looking at a holistic document that addresses every concern, what would that be for you?
What that would be for me will be a document that is, all of society driven. And in this case, my very strong recommendation would be to develop what I call smart public-private partnership, where the roles of the different partners, the private sector, the public sector, have their roles actually specified. For instance, there has to be collaboration with diaspora investors and tech companies to build digital infrastructure projects such as data centers, but you also have, broadband expansion and, what we also call out here smart cities. Now, we don't have that. I mean, there are indications of Lagos actually, trying to make some inroads, but the work still needs to start. Now, there is also a need in that document to, specify strategies of, partnering with international organizations and the Nigerian diaspora to, launch what I call research and development hubs that are focusing on, emerging technologies. Now, by the time we have such a document, if you like, call it the Digital Economy Bible, that specifies the different roles, but also give the short, medium, and long-term, strategy. I believe that it will not be cast in concrete, but at least it provides a template. And things change because it's an evolving world, and the world of technology is a fast evolving one. So definitely changes will occur. But imagine if you have nothing in terms of a plan that you have to adjust along with the time, and then you are standing, really, in the open air. So. Such a template is very, very important for, like I said, smart public-private partnership template.
Interesting. So let me quickly squeeze in this question as regards the Nigeria e-commerce sector, which in your area of expertise that is said to be growing at annual rate of 17%, but they suffer logistical challenges where you have it you find it difficult to access some of these places to deliver some of these goods. For instance, the last mile delivery issues that persist. So how do you think we can surmount this bottleneck in achieving this, grand opportunity that we're being given by the AFCFTA?
Well, I believe that its existence in the first place is a good way to start. Now, like I mentioned in my last, input regarding the development of smart public-private partnership, there is a need to actually, specify which role that each of the partners play. And then, like I said also, it is an evolving, emerging space, and it could be that a plan that you put in place in January will become obsolete even in June. That's a 6-month period. That is, how speedily the, space is developing. But start with a plan and then, adjust where necessary.
Absolutely. Global Affairs Analyst Collins Nweke, thank you so much for your time on the program.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.